The dawn of Hinduism. So, class, in the past, we've spent a lot of our time discussing the rise of classical polytheism. And you've all read the three sources I provided for you. That's the Theogony by Hesiod, the Enuma Elish from ancient Babylon, and of course, the Upanishads, the ancient Vedic texts that are some of the earliest, the second earliest in this case, scriptures in what would later become the Hindu religion. The earliest being the Rig Veda, but we're not going to be doing too much with the Rig Veda. You'll do the Rig Veda more when you're in college. So, let us proceed. So, different types of religion. Now, whenever historians and anthropologists discuss religion, we often speak in terms of theisms. Theism refers to a type of religion. Theism, theo, meaning God or religion. So polytheism is a religion with multiple gods. Poly meaning many, theism connotating a god. Monotheism, a religion with one god. Atheism, a belief system with no gods. Then you have panentheism. Now, panentheism is a religion where everything is part of the god, or everything is consubstantial, made of the same substance as everything else. And as you probably have noticed from the Venn diagram we've done in class, what is described in the Upanishads is more in line with panentheism than polytheism. So I'd like you to please circle that. And the reason that's important is when you look at the New York State curriculum, you'll sometimes see Hinduism listed as polytheism. And while there are multiple gods mentioned in Hinduism, that is not anywhere in doubt. Most Hindu people, I've spoken with several of them, describe a religion that's more in line with panentheism. The important aspect of Hinduism is the idea that everything is consubstantial. That's a little more important to them than the multiple gods, because all the multiple gods and all the multiple people are ultimately one with a cosmic principle. We're going to go over that a little more later, but that's an important difference to understand. And I know some of you are going, well, wait a minute, teach, wait a minute here. If New York State says polytheism, then why do we want to know the other one? And the answer to that is because, while yes, the Board of Regents will want to see the word polytheism connected with ancient India on the regents, you will at some point in your life likely be encountering people who are practicing Hindus. So it would be best not to offend them by mislabeling their religion. Just a word of thought, a word to the wise. So, let's get into panentheism in Hinduism. So, one of the central beliefs in Hinduism and Vedic religions is the idea that everything in the universe is part of a cosmic principle they call Brahma. Now, every person, god, animal, etc., has an individual self, a belief, a perception of an individual being, which is called your Atman. And the idea is that every Atman is actually not an individual, but is part of Brahma, is part of the cosmic principle. So us, the gods, the animals, are all actually part of the same cosmic being, the same cosmic substance, which they call Brahma. And so your individuality is only an illusion. That idea of Brahma, this idea of this everything being one, is actually what's represented in the Om, which is the symbol you see up in the left-hand corner of the slide. That is the Om symbol. That's also what people will sometimes say when they're in meditation, in yoga. That's what the Om is all about. So anyway, the caste system. So now that we've explored a little bit about panentheism, let's look at the caste system, which is going to be vital to our understanding of ancient India and the rise of Hinduism. So, Vedic society. So, Vedic society is well established by 1500 BCE. Probably starts getting going a little earlier than that, but our earliest texts from them are from around the 1500s. So, at that point, we're dead certain they're there. And Vedic society is founded by Indo-European migrants, sometimes called the Aryans, and this gets into a weird note on technicality. So, not to bore you too much with the history of linguistics, but when people first realized that there was a relation between Sanskrit and Greek and the languages of Europe, they realized that these two elements were part of a common linguistic family, which they originally called the Aryan language, after a group of nomadic individuals who who migrated down into India around the end of the year 2000 BCE. They began their migration. It's around the time of the fall of the Indus River Valley civilization. This is also why people used to think that this group of people invaded the Indus River Valley civilization. That's where that misconception came from. These people originated near the Caucasus Mountains. Now, this is where life gets interesting. That term originally referred to this group of people and to that language family. During the rest of the 20th century, that term Aryan eventually becomes corrupted by groups like the Nazis, who take it to have a whole different racial connotation, and is eventually replaced by the phrase Indo-European. But if you see older history books, or many times history books that are printed in East Asia, like in Japan, I had a Japanese professor who often referred to it as Indo-Aryan languages. He means Indo-European, but that's something just to keep in mind if you ever find yourself reading works by East Asian professionals, or works published from Europe that were published before 1945. You'll sometimes see that reference. Just a note on technicality. Anyway, back to Vedic society. So these Indo-European people show up, and they're originally nomadic. They come down from around the Caucasus Mountains in the Asian steppe, and they also develop an alphabetic language called Sanskrit, and begin writing in it. And eventually they do settle down. As they settle down and their society begins to stratify, and we see the emergence of the caste system. We're going to go into different ranks in the caste system, and then the relation between the castes and reincarnation and Hinduism. So let's get to it. So the caste system. In the caste system, society is stratified into 5 castes. And your caste status was hereditary, so there's no social mobility. If you're born into a specific class, you cannot get out of it. The belief originated from a description in the Upanishads where Brahma is seen as one being and is divided up into different pieces. And each of the different pieces of Brahma is supposed to be representative of a different caste and the role that caste performs. This is very important, so let's take a look at it. So here are the classes. At the top of society, you have the Brahmins, the priests and teachers, the head of Brahma, right? They're the intellectuals. Then you have the Kshatriyas, who are the warriors and the rulers. They're the arms, the strength of the kingdom, right? The priests and the teachers, they're the intellectuals. The warriors and the rulers, they're the arms. The Vaishyas are the farmers, the traders, and the merchants. Notice they are the legs and the hips. It's important because your farmers are what hold up your society. You ever see those bumper stickers on a car where it says no farms, no food? It's kind of like that, right? Without your farmers, you're not going to have much of a kingdom. Everyone's going to die. Then you have your Shudras, your laborers, represented by the feet. The idea that they're at the bottom of society. They're still essential. You need the feet, right? You got legs and no feet, still got a problem. But the foot is not as glorious as the head, the arms, or the legs. And then you have the Dalits, the outcasts. And those were those who were outside of this system, the non-Vedic people. And they were usually occupied the lowest jobs in society. Street sweepers, latrine cleaners, that means the guys who clean excrement out of sewage and stuff like that. Many times, those involved in cremation, or those who carried the dead bodies to the cremation grounds, they often were Dalits as well. So that's the system. Now, that's also very interesting, because that actually flies in the face of much of the social hierarchy we see in other societies, where it's the ruler who is considered the top of the social strata, and the priests and the teachers and the scribes are seen as a rank below the ruler. So that's a very interesting difference. Now, this is rather interesting that you see this idea. And that's going to get into some more stuff about the caste system. So dharma and the caste system. So a dharma is a person's duty, especially in Hinduism. And the idea is that one's dharma, their duty, is determined by their caste. And that it is better to do the work of your own caste poorly than that of another caste well. And a great example of this is articulated in an ancient Hindu scripture called the Bhagavad Gita. The Bhagavad Gita. Anyway, in this particular, the Bhagavad Gita, in the Bhagavad Gita, there is a description of a prince who's about to go to war. And in the story, he is about to go to war with his rivals. And what happened was, he is the brother of the rightful heir to the throne, and his cousins have claimed the throne wrongfully for themselves, and he is attempting to aid his brother in getting his kingdom back. But to do so, that means he is fighting against his own family, and he does not like this. And he begins to question what he's doing, and question the meaning of life and the righteousness of killing his own family. And one of the gods, Shiva, comes down and has this whole moral conversation. And the ultimate theme of the Bhagavad Gita is this idea that while war was an evil, it was his duty as a member of the warrior class to take part in that war. And so as long as he did that well, as long as he fought in that war, he was going to be fine, and it was going to aid him in his spiritual journey. Now, this is where things get interesting. So, performing your dharma is what you have to do. We're going to get into this a little more. We're talking about reincarnation in the next upcoming slide. So, reincarnation. So, now, to explain a little bit more about reincarnation, we have to talk a little bit about karma. Now, karma is the positive or negative reaction to any given action. That's how karma is treated in East Asian spirituality. So think of it sort of like, in physics, every action has an equal and opposite reaction. It's the same kind of a principle. So good actions would produce good karma. Bad actions produce bad karma. Now, so you reap what you sow is kind of the idea. If you do bad things will happen to you. If you do good things will happen to you. That's the essential principle of karma. Now, if one does not live long enough to experience the results of all their actions, good or bad, then they have to go through another life. They have to be reincarnated, is the idea, in order to experience that reaction. But the reaction must occur. You can't get out of this business of being reincarnated if you still have unfinished karma, good or bad. So karma leads to reincarnation. Actions lead to being reincarnated again. Now, whether your karma is good or bad largely depends on your dharma. So think back to the Bhagavad Gita. In the Bhagavad Gita, you have a story in which the prince in question is contemplating the ethicality of his act. Should he be waging war against his relatives? And he's doing a lot of the contemplating originally that would be more the business of a priest. And that's why Shiva's kind of telling him, don't be doing this. You're overthinking this. Your dharma, your duty, is not to be the contemplative one. It's not your job to think about this. You're a warrior. You're a ruler. Your job is to fight in the war. And if you do that, then that will be good karma for you, and that will reflect well on you. It's going to spell good things for you. That's an important element of understanding how this works. Now, you can move up the caste system, but only through reincarnation, which I'll talk about more.